January 14th, call the Personnel and Finance Committee meeting to order. June 15th. 7. Review the minutes. 18th meeting. Take motion that minutes from May 10th have been received. Second. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed?
I'm sorry. And we're having a little audio problem with I wonder if it's the owl or something. Are you ready for the library report? Is that what you said?
Yeah, we can hear you great now.
Okay. Okay, I can hear you guys now better too. So I'm not sure what's going on, but
How's this?
perfect.
I love it.
Yeah, oh, there we go. Okay. So yeah, summer's good at the library, even despite the downtown construction, our numbers for visitation are up compared to last year. So we love to see that. And then let's see what we're already like into June, well into June. So the beginning of June, the Garden Club had a sale. They worked with the Friends of the Library to have a garden sale that benefited the library. So that was very good. About over 100 people came to that sale. And then last weekend during Pea Soup Days, my coworker Daniel offered mini golf inside the library, and there were some 50 people attended that one. So he was happy with it and good turnout. And then we have a few new things that we received from a grant from FNC Bank. They gave us money to buy playaways. I don't know if you ever heard those, but they're common in libraries. It's like a little cassette audio book that people can check out, but you just put headphones on it. So we got some geared for kind of those beginning readers or struggling readers, so they can be paired with a book, and you don't need a cell phone to use those either. So kind of a cool thing. We have 15 of them, and I think last time I checked, over half of them were checked out right now. So those are some of the highlights of kind of what's happening in June. I don't know if you have any questions about anything else going on in the library or.
Christina, tomorrow is like the first official Market Fest. Are you?
Right.
Would the library want to try to do anything, have a table set up to get more local membership or anything like that?
We'd probably need a little bit more preparation to do something like that, but at some point we'll see how it goes. We're definitely interested in it. We don't have a lot of staff. We just have well, Daniel has the day off, but normally he's working, and we have a 16-year-old at that time working. So that's all that's in the library on Thursday evening. So
But we'll have some volunteers too, if you have some things that you'd like
Okay.
to. There's volunteers that can help.
great. Yeah, but we'll definitely keep it on our list of things that we want to do.
All right, anything else, Christina?
Nope, but always.
Any new and exciting things coming up that we need to be aware
Oh,
of?
for June, we're doing paint the library red, white, and blue. So that those will be displayed in the library windows. I think the families have picked those up now. July, I'm really excited. We have a huge lineup. We have some musicians, storytellers, I think a magician coming in. So every Thursday in July, that's happening too. So you'll probably see flyers around town about that one, or you'll be sure to get one too. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Mhm.
Have a good rest of your night, Christina. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, moving right along to the impact fee report.
Looks like there was, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the month of May.
Mhm.
Leaving us that total up. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 and 5 is 18 total. 18 total, permits issued for this year. Has there been more in June? Any,
There's one.
only one of them?
Yeah. I take that back. There's 3.
So,
Sorry.
3,
There's 3.
we're up to 21 for the year.
Yeah.
Great.
so, everybody that, so the $141 goes for, streets, 192 goes for police, 468 goes to library, 57 towards fire,
Mhm.
and then, 182 for the water system, 1,082 for the water system.
Yep. And that's based on that,
Facility needs,
needs assessment that I sent out.
okay.
Yeah. And I do have that on the agenda later on.
Yep, okay, I just, I'm trying to see where the facility needs assessment and it was at here.
And that's under new discussion. Okay. We can wait till we get down there. Department head meeting report.
There was not one. In June.
Do you guys normally schedule a department head,
It's usually
Meeting.
the first Wednesday of the month.
but there hasn't been one this whole year?
There has been.
Oh, has it?
Yeah, I
Okay.
believe the last one was March or April. Everybody's busy. So, but now July for sure we'll have one,
Okay,
because we'll start getting into the budget
okay,
process and, with the new clerk coming on, I think that would be beneficial for her to,
July 5th, is that correct?
first Wednesday.
we probably will move it to a different Wednesday because, yeah, July 4th is. That week is always,
Chaotic.
quiet.
Quiet?
People are gone for the holidays.
Vacation, yeah.
Mhm.
Probably a good time to get your feet wet, but however you guys work it out is good with us. 2023 budget to date.
I'll back up for a second. Will that conflict with our? If it's the second Wednesday, would that conflict with our?
It's in the morning.
Oh, so,
Yeah.
okay.
2023 budget to date and fund balances. It looks like we're doing pretty good overall. At least for the bottom line, but for, I think, 40% of our budget.
Mhm. Yes, I did not put the fund balances in there, 'cause I'm working on the audit entries, but we're pretty much the same as last month.
I didn't hear you.
The, fund balance,
Oh,
that's that separate spreadsheet that has each fund's cash balance.
question on, direct sellers licenses.
Mhm. So that would be, somebody who either is going door to door or,
Transient merchant.
yep. So like Wheelhouse has a direct seller's license that she gets every year.
Mhm.
Um,
And people coming to Pea Soup Days or any of that kind of stuff was,
It would be only if they're on, not at an event. They're either walking on village sidewalks, public right of ways. Or they're on a piece of property that is not an event. So like Market Fest, all your people wouldn't have to get one of these. Same with Piece of Face. The concert grounds.
So it all has to do with, they're on public property. So a person just going like door to door trying to sell charms, trinkets or anything like that,
Mhm.
they're ready to, but if they go on their own personal property,
Right,
they can sell stuff
or if
without
they're
any
on
kind of permit.
private property,
Right, their own personal property or private property that it's not required of them.
correct.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but it was more for the people like selling meat door to door and the concert people that would come in and sell the illegal t-shirts without a permit and
If they were on the concert grounds, they wouldn't need them. If they were.
if they
in
were
the
part
public.
of the concert
Yeah.
personnel, but yeah. We get scalpers out there all the time.
And they do a background check, the police department does.
When will you have like that other spreadsheet available? Can you email that to us?
Yeah, I can. Do that one. So the audit entries for 2022 affect the cash balances, so we have to. Enter all of those and then it'll. Adjust them a little bit.
Okay,
So,
what kind of a timeline is that, Andrea?
should be by the end of the month,
Okay,
all then.
anybody have any questions on the budget today?
I'm curious, hydrant rental?
Yeah, $90,000, that's
What is that?
hydrant rental.
Or the actual piece of
So,
equipment?
Good question, that's what
it's part of the water rates. So on your water bill from the village, there's the public fire protection.
Right.
So the village pays a portion of it.
Which is, that's a $650, right? month?
550,
$650,
650?
Yeah.
Okay.
but is that,
That's what that is.
the
Yep.
fire, it says fire and it says $650.
Public fire, yeah, or fire protection, yeah. So the public pays a portion and the village pays.
So,
It's just to maintain them. The
so
public,
we rent them from somebody?
we rent them from the water utility.
Oh, so we rent them from ourselves, basically.
Yeah, but it's part of the
Allocation.
whole utility. So, like, PSC
Let's say
required.
they've been there 20 years and we're still renting them, but. I understand that.
What page is that?
Thank you.
What page is it?
5. About halfway down on 5.
It should be on your budget report every month, Donnie. Part of it, basically, yeah. Or is it under fire?
It's under hydrant rental.
It's under the fire department.
Yeah. So will that ever go down? Or is that just kind of a yearly, it stays
No.
the same?
It's determined with the water rate, so when the village does, a water rate increase, then that amount will change. However, it has not changed, because we added the public fire protection on the utility bill, so. If we hadn't, then that number would have gone up. So,
So the
Price of water.
$650 was for fire, that's not to maintain the actual, the fire budget.
Right.
That the joint fire budget, that's also in addition is part of this,
mhm.
so, okay,
If you don't agree with it, take it up with PSC. It's required by them. It's not anything that we can
Negotiate.
change, yeah.
So I guess the question is, you know, if it's gotta be in. If it's getting paid by the water utility, then why wouldn't it just be part of water utility?
It's
budget?
not getting paid by the water utility, it's getting paid by the village general fund, so tax levy. And consumer,
Oh, so it's not on the 650.
no,
Okay, that's what I
Yeah.
thought I asked you, is the 650, a portion of that goes to fund the trucks and the salaries and the.
No,
and
it does
That's
not.
650 on the 1358 hydrants, that all goes right to cover the expense for the joint fire commission.
No, it goes to the water utility,
That 650 goes to
hydrants.
water utility.
Yeah.
So the money that comes out for the fire, that comes out of general fund?
yes, on the tax levy,
Okay, so that 650, that actually is covering this hydrant cost, right?
no,
A portion of it is.
of course,
Where's the rest of it go?
rest of what?
The 650.
The $650 that you have every month on your bill. Goes towards the water utility for hydrants.
Okay,
Same with this amount, so every month I make a payment from the general fund,
Mhm.
which is this budget. To the Somerset Utilities, and it goes into the water fund,
so the
nothing with the fire
8,000,
department,
no, that's fine, $8,827 goes to the water utility.
Mhm.
And that's to maintain the hydrants, which comes off this line item here, right?
Yes.
So the balance of the 8. If I take, right now you got hydrant rentals for the month of May at 7,634.
Yeah,
I'm just saying if I subtract the 7,634 from that, there was an additional 1,193, that still goes to the water utility.
Yeah.
That's all I was asking.
yeah,
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. I understand them.
okay,
I was just trying to figure out where the balance of the money was going, either we're going to fund
everything
the
goes.
fire,
Mhm.
or what, so we're paying the 650 goes to the water utility and they do what they need to.
Yes,
And you came up with the 8,800 from how many users?
There's 1,358 was meters that I got from the last meeting we had. So that's where I got that number from, so I was just trying to figure out where that was.
All right, any other input on the budget? Any questions? Moving on to unfinished business, update community input on village website.
Let me back up for 1 second, I'm sorry, are we gonna be sitting down at some point in time? You mentioned about the budget
Mhm.
and everything like that.
Yep.
Do we sit down? What is the kind of the process with that, with dealing with the budget and everything? I went through it last year.
Mhm.
And that was my first time and I
Yeah.
didn't ask the questions the way I should have asked them.
Sure.
And is there a process? I know we have meetings,
Mhm.
but I mean, is there a process where we kind of go through this stuff with the department heads on?
Yeah.
Because, there's a facilities need, we're looking at doing that and trying to
Yeah.
figure out our impacts and what our costs are
Mhm.
across the board to determine that budget. And how does that work?
So. Typically, the department heads. Put in their budget numbers. Their wish list, basically. And then it goes to committee. So it should come to your public works committee. And then you guys will review it and ask, what's this for? What's that for? Why is this up? Why is this down? And then it goes back to either department head or it goes to the finance committee all together. So every department's budget would come into this big report.
So the only two committees we have are Public Works and Public Safety, right?
Mhm. The
Well, what about,
library does their own.
well, yeah, but we don't have any say on what goes on with the library or, I mean, we don't review any.
We
of
have
that.
no say in the library whatsoever. The library board does.
So why ain't the library board involved with that process?
They
With
do
us?
their own process and then they submit it to us.
Okay. and we just rubber stamp it
Mhm.
based on taxpayers' dollars.
Yeah, I mean, they don't normally,
Last year was a considerable increase, right?
yeah. But that's not normal.
I understand that. I just want, you know, what I mean, because what we looking at, is it
Because
gonna go?
we do still have levy limits and everybody is made aware of that and. If something gets cut, it gets cut. You know, there has to be.
Well, we could
some give and take.
determine that, right, as the finance committee saying, listen, library board might need to have a little bit of a haircut here,
Right,
right? And they'd
Yeah.
have to live with that, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
As you said, okay.
I can kind of, this is Christina and I'm still on. I can kind of explain how the process works with the libraries too. So like how,
Don't mean to
Why
pick
the-
on you.
I mean,
Here,
the control that you do have with the libraries is that you guys appoint the library board. So those are your appointments to the board. And then, you know, you can approve those, disapprove those, appoint somebody else at that time. And then why it's set up in Wisconsin that you guys aren't, you know, just like the library is not a committee of it, is because they set it up in Wisconsin that way to keep it not regulated by the government. So they're representatives, I mean, just like you're representatives of the people, but you're also, now that you're trustees, you're government now too. And so you're appointing representatives, you know, library users and of the people. So we do have a lot of village representation on and school representation on the library board. And then I kind of work with Andrea a lot when we talk about the village budget and how that will work with the library budget. And then we also receive a lot of appropriations from the county too, depending on how the checkouts go. And then from there, so I've started that process already. And then the library board also appoints a budget committee. And so they meet with me. And then that budget committee goes to the full library board. The full library board looks at a proposal for you all. And then, so it's a proposal that we submit to the village, and then you have the final say on how that works. Any questions about kind of that, or I'm happy to answer those, or library funding too, and how it works at the county level.
When you guys have your meetings on that to review your budgets and stuff like that, are them open meetings?
Yep. Let's see, we just met next week, but we do meet on July 5th again. Too, and the budget is on the agenda for July. I don't know, they kind of talk about their goals. A lot of the budget right now that they're working on is based on the strategic plan. I don't know if you saw that back in January, March, that we did a community survey.
Yeah.
And then we also did several focus group meetings too throughout the community. So a lot of those are kind of like, well, this is what the community wants in a library. And so how can we try and provide that on a modest budget? So that's kind of how we work on that. Yep, and all library board meetings are open to the public, yes.
That process will start in July then, okay?
Christina, let's see, you just muted, but you guys do your meetings by Zoom or Google Meets or anything like that?
Yep, the July meeting will be on Zoom because some of our board members are out of town then. Sometimes they do it in person, but Zoom is usually what they're gonna do.
Thank you. Andrea, could you get that out on their calendar with their?
I don't set that up. Christina, the library has their own Zoom account, so. I can.
As far as the calendar, when it's gonna be, how would we get the notifications out to the public from that? Is that on the library
It's on the
website?
library website. It's also posted at the village hall. Usually we send that out the week prior to that. So is there another way you'd like to be notified of it?
If you
Email?
can get it to Andrea and she can push it out to us, would be great.
Yep.
The Zoom- the Zoom or the agenda?
Agenda or,
More so the Zoom, but if you can do both, would be great.
Okay. Cause I get the agenda every month and I post it on the bulletin board. I guess I can. email
Thank you
them.
again, Christina.
yep.
Do you see anything outstanding here, Andrea, on the budget that you might have concerns with or anything like that going forward, that we would need to look at, or everything looking pretty good?
Mhm.
No major hits or anything like that, or hey, you know,
No.
we're actually saving a little bit of money with one clerk, but that'll be, you know, we're bringing the other one in at a pretty good price, right?
Right,
Okay. Good.
The only one that I noticed that was like over budget, which is like parks, but that's pretty reasonable for this time of year to maintenance to get it up and running and another peak time.
Yeah, I guess I'm still trying to figure out the whole thing, and that's why I said, I didn't know if they have a working meeting where you're able to sit down, because how all of this kind of is pulled out, where if a guy works for 5 hours cutting grass, his 5 hours of wages gets charged to that account
Mhm.
versus, you know. Yeah, I'm still trying to figure that in my mind, how that's all budgeted out,
Yeah.
because it's really
Well,
difficult.
what you said is what happened,
Right, but
so,
if you got public works guys and you got a guy dedicated to that the whole
Mhm.
time,
yeah.
right?
Mhm.
So we budget for one guy's wages at the public, at the parks
Right,
for the whole time.
Yep.
So I'm still trying to figure out now why his wages would be pulled out and put someplace else.
it depends on where he's working.
But if we budgeted him there,
Mhm.
he would be working there,
Right,
right? And so,
it's a small staff, it's small department, the public works department, so they help each other out.
right,
So if, for instance, Neil, who's parked, is working on the sewer treatment plant, which they do, the call outs, or the weekend duty, that gets charged to the sewer utility, because it's for them, it's for that
okay.
specific department.
Any other questions on it?
Not at this time.
Just
Oh.
wait, you'll start talking and.
Yeah.
Let's get back up here.
All right, moving on now to unfinished business, update, community input on village website. I didn't,
This said the consensus of the committee was to bring this item. Sorry, that's the wrong thing I'm looking at. There's, you wanted to keep it on the agenda.
and I
I
guess,
think you showed us that you did some work on the website update, right?
Yep.
And that
well,
was kind of like a work in progress, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
How's that going?
It's still a work in progress.
Yeah, you got any ideas on future updates on that, or, because I know it was kind of like, hey, look at this.
I have been super swamped.
So probably tabled for this time, at this point in time. Is there a sense of maybe getting somebody else to help do that?
I'm hoping that maybe the clerk can help with that.
Okay, all right.
Mhm.
So this might be something that's step in line with the clerk's
Yeah.
responsibilities and for, you know, into July. Mr.
Yeah.
Chairman?
yes, and, I guess my question to Andrea is, what do you? I'm just trying to subscribe. I'm trying to subscribe to all the things right now, just to make sure it works, and it said there was a,
It says pending.
no, something about error, but no. You must sign in to subscribe. I signed in. And then when I click on, oh, okay, and now it says pending,
It has to get approved,
okay.
so.
The first time it said, after I clicked save, it said there was some kind of error. Perfect, and then your thoughts on this website, is it worth trying to, fix those little things, like make the images smaller and work with those guys on stuff, or
Yeah.
should we try to look for something different at all?
I think I can ask if we're able to change it up a little bit. And then if we can't, we would have to do a redesign. Which costs money.
And then, but we could add more of the forms for everybody, like the, for. I have to do, well, up until this year, I have to go through River Falls' website quite a bit and they have like every form on there for the alcohol and operator's license and.
Those are all on the DOR website as well.
Yeah, so maybe we can just get a link to that and,
I'm pretty sure there is one. If there isn't, I can add it.
okay, great. All right, so let's just table that and then, discussion possible recommendation quote for GPS and model policy on village owned vehicles. And it's, Next Track, is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah, Next Track is what it is. This was used by, the company that I worked for previously, and they had it in all their vehicles, and I just I sent the committee the website, and it does say in here, for governmental, code enforcement, police, fire, social services, etc. It says, improve your decision-making with solutions, allow you to track vehicles in real time. Be flexible and responding to route changes, guys plowing snow. And maybe wants to, hey, let's catch this side versus that side, kind of thing. Or I got somebody in this area, he's getting complaints through a push notification. He can actually, from his desk, dispatch out somebody on that lines. Plus also asset, it gives you up-to-date traffic and weather reports, asset protections. If something happens to one of our vehicles, God forbid, we're able to, track it down. And this really, we didn't get into it in too depth in the company we were in, but you can actually utilize it for what Andrea was saying as far as hours tracked on certain jobs. When they're in the truck plowing, you can actually track those hours right to her, and it would say, these are the hours utilized. We didn't use it that much because our travel times and being in different areas didn't work really good with that, but it is you have a lot of different flexibilities you can utilize this with, to where they can track the hours of somebody's traveling or working, and you can actually log in and log out of this thing through a Next Track. And so, your guys could be able to send you real time of where they're at when they're doing stuff on what, he could be on a lawnmower, cutting grass. That's Parks Department, right? Parks Department, so I'm cutting grass for 5 hours on the lawnmower, asset tracking for that, and you can say, okay, 5 hours to this, to Parks Department or whatever. You can utilize that technology for it. It's not overly expensive for, I think, it depends on what you utilize the amounts for. The real question is, whether or not we have something in our budgets to be able to establish that now versus later, if that's what this committee wants to do.
What kind of price tag are we looking at?
Well, that again, it gets into, I don't know how many what are we all talking about? I mean, the sky's the limit with this company. I mean, you could put, you know, asset tracking on your lawnmowers, you could put asset tracking on the Bobcat, you could put, you know, all that. And if you have all of that on there, it's a certain amount, I think it's, you know, $100 a month or something like that to be tracking all that kind of stuff. So it all really depends on
The number.
the, you know, the amount of vehicles, because each one of them is going to be receiving that. And it's kicking real time to the department heads of what's going on, you know, on those vehicles, where they're at. And, you know, I know my boss had a big deal with, us speeding. So he put a notice on where he would get a push notification anytime one of his vehicles was exceeding the speed limit of 75 miles an hour on, or 70 miles an hour. He said, anybody going over 70, I'm gonna know about it. And so, you know, you get an email or text from him saying, slow down, you know, that kind of stuff.
Like that.
So he's texting you while you're driving to tell you. to slow down.
Yeah, it's true. It's got true.
We're not texting back, you can say,
Yeah.
read it by voice or.
He said, I understand you've been, you know, exceeding the speed limit, please slow down.
Mhm.
Now, whether or not you're reading your text while you're
Right,
driving is.
right.
Would it work? Would it?
I don't, these aren't like video deals in your trucks to see, you know, record what you're doing. You know, and I don't think that's what you guys were looking for. You guys were looking for the ability to be able to maintain and, your vehicles in case somebody would, you know, utilize them. And then this is a great thing for being able to utilize the technology to, you know, reassign people without having to call them up saying, where are you at, what's going on, just saying, okay, hey, I got a guy over here, I could send him right up the road.
Could you maybe coordinate with Bob the number of vehicles and that it would be beneficial for, and then maybe come up with a price for our next meeting?
Yeah,
I like the idea of that asset tracking as well.
Yeah.
Not so
Like
much
what?
babysitting the guys.
are we looking at like assets, you know,
Like the Bobcats and.
yeah, let's say Bobcat, lawnmower, stuff like that, they can easily be loaded up onto a deal, hauled off and is gone, right? Are we looking for assets, you know, to be tracked? I mean, because if you give me some parameters, that would be easy for us to be able to, you know, have that conversation.
The trucks, the snow plows, the trail cat, the lawnmowers. I don't think there's much more equipment than that.
Fire trucks too?
No,
Probably
they're
not. They
ours.
do. It's not, yeah, not really our
They're
concern.
not ours,
Yeah,
their own.
so.
Well, it would be the
Jointly owned.
joint fire commission, you know, would be talking about that. That's why I'm asking the question, if that needs to go to them.
And it would not be any of the police vehicles either.
You're saying just because they already have,
Mm-hmm.
Was that overseen by the chief then, as far as where they're at and stuff like that, or?
I'm assuming so, yeah.
when I rode with them that day for the funeral procession, he could pull up on an app on his phone where all the squads were.
Right, okay. It's exactly similar, maybe it would be the same technology, who knows?
Yeah, it was a pretty neat deal. So you can come back with,
Anything over a $5,000 price tag, is that what we're looking at, or? Or mobile vehicles and lawnmowers, trucks,
I think you've got them
Trail
all
cat.
covered, trucks, snowplows, tool cat, lawnmowers.
Okay.
Pretty much all they have.
do you know offhand how many trucks there are? I was gonna say like 7, 8 plus
Um,
plow trucks.
well, we'll have that conversation
Yeah.
with Bob.
Yeah, 5 to 7 regular trucks
Yeah.
plus
5.
probably 4 plow trucks and then the big front end loader.
Mhm.
We'll work on it.
All right, perfect. Discussion possible recommendation, locking mailboxes for village, police and court. I think, the police department wasn't really for it. You guys weren't really for it, and
So last month, there was a motion to table until the June meeting to get further information.
how's it been working with, the construction going on?
It's been fine.
6 miles one way.
Yeah, we don't go every day. You know, mail, usually Mondays is a heavy mail day, and then Wednesday, sometimes Thursday, so if it's 2 to 3 times a week. So we'll go, Amy and I switch out, goes over there.
You guys,
I'm kind of more in, I'm not opposed to it. I think it's a good thing if it's done right, but. You know, we got a facility needs survey, you know, a company that's gonna be coming in. We're looking at doing some upgrades and stuff, maybe potentially. Or listening to recommendations of what they're looking at. I know if there was to be like a remodel of the village hall or whatever, I think at that point in time, it would be great to just put them boxes right in. And then you have each one of them's got their own suite model and because you have to change, you know, who knows if we're gonna still be here? You know what I mean? If we're looking at changing everything over on the websites and everything, if we move from this location to another location, at that point in time would be a proper time to make all the changes and infuse it right there in the location too. I don't disagree with what you're saying. I think if you're gonna put it in, rather than put it out there, have them come right in here and they can drop it off right in the business. That's what they do in most businesses, don't they?
a lot of the bigger ones, yeah.
And they just bring it in, then you got, you know, like with us, it was, you know, you had the carpenters, the cabinet makers, the plasters, the, you know, all these different trades, and each one of them had their own box, and they had their own privacy, and they had their own, so that, you know, I taking in Joel's consideration, well, blood kits and stuff like that, that he's able to maintain his autonomy through that, you know, that independent box, and then all outgoing mail goes right into an outgoing mailbox, and the postmaster takes all the outgoing mail and puts everybody in the other stuff, you know, it's an in-house right inside the door or whatever, the entry vestibule, and it would work out great. But putting it out right now, I'm just afraid that we change it from a post office box to that, and then if we were gonna do something else again, we'd kind of be duplicating ourselves twice, right?
I make a motion to take no action on it.
I'll second that motion.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Carries. Discussion possible recommendation, employee handbook correction, definition of eligible part-time employee for benefits.
Okay, so, Christina brought this to my attention, that when the, employee handbook was revised in 2022, somehow the, at the top of this first page, it explains what a regular part-time employee is. Those averaging less than 30 hours per week throughout the year, would be considered as eligible part-time employees. However, that is not the definition of eligible part-time employees. That's the definition of a part-time employee.
For the purposes of establishing healthcare coverage, right?
No,
Under,
that's just, you're either full-time, at the beginning of the handbook, it says the classifications of employees. Full-time is 40 hours or over so many hours. Part-time is 30, less than 30.
yeah, right.
But to qualify for benefits, it's a different classification.
What page is that on?
It's the second page in the
Page 12?
Yep,
Okay.
so under employee benefits, it reads. Those averaging 25 hours per week throughout the year who have been employed by the village for more than 2 years. So the way the handbook reads right now. All of Christina's part-time employees, including the high school employees who work 2 to 5 hours a week. Would qualify for 80 hours of vacation, half pay on holidays, and she would have a big mess on her hands on scheduling. So this. The language. Got changed, I'm not sure how, but it should read. For benefit purposes, 25 hours per week. So I'm just requesting to have it.
So it says,
corrected.
so you want that scratch that says who have been employed by the village for more than 2 years?
No, that needs to stay in there too. So it's just changing in the parentheses, those averaging less than,
Okay, so
30
now we're back up
hours.
to 13 again, okay? So what do you want changed?
it should say. Those averaging 25 hours per week throughout the year. As it did previously.
So they're paid.
Mhm. Now, the only question I have on that is. Under the. I'm trying to think of what the acronym was, I'm just gonna use Obamacare,
Mhm.
that there was the 30-hour. Provisions in under Obamacare for establishing the part-time, for the purposes of the law. The
Yeah.
healthcare is changing that language, or does any reason that got changed? Have
That,
to do with Obamacare or anything like that?
no,
Okay,
no, and that's why we have those classifications at the beginning of the handbook where it's 30, under 30, over 30,
right,
part-time, full-time.
for Obamacare.
The Department of Workforce Development, I think it's 24 hours for part-time.
Well, everything has kind of changed since that was originally,
Mhm.
you know, I mean,
Yeah.
they've changed it and made it change and another
Yeah.
change, so I get that.
Yeah.
So. So you're recommending that it says those averaging not less than 30 hours, that be stricken and replaced with those averaging 25 hours a week throughout the year?
Yes,
And who have been employed by the village for more than 2 years, or did that
Yep.
stay out? Okay.
yep, that stays in.
And then can you just double check to see what the maximum hours for the part-time employees is currently? I was thinking it was 29, but it looks might be 24.
Okay.
Regular part-time employees averaging 25 hours a week throughout the year.
Mhm.
Is that what our part-time employees are working? 25 hours a week?
Not all of them. Those that
Do
are.
they work more than?
qualified, less, they work less.
That's-
So really it should read more than 25 hours a week or more. Up to 30, 40 hours, right?
It could,
Well, you want to kind of define it that
well,
way,
you're
right?
averaging though, you're averaging 25 hours per week.
Mhm.
So there could be weeks where you work 30 and then weeks that you work 20,
Right,
but the average throughout the year would be 25
or less, or more,
or more.
okay, so
But
that's,
at least they're 25.
right, so 25, but no less than 40, because when they're at 40 average, then they're
Right,
full-time
then they're
employees.
not part-time.
Anything over 32 is full-time. Part-time typically work less than 32 hours per week.
And that's why I was wondering if why that 30 was ever put in there.
And are usually offered limited benefits and healthcare.
That was in the, it's part of the handbook that was revised by Jay Connor. Nobody was here for that.
You know,
So
Sorry for the history lesson here.
No, it's okay. Either 2018 or 2019, we hired Pete Whiteneck from J.A. Connor, who is a human resources
Consultant.
qualified, whatever, certified person. He met with every department, redid all the job descriptions and the employee handbook. And, those were his recommendations, the language of full-time, part-time. And like I said, for whatever reason, from the 2019 version to the 2022 version, that 25 hours got changed to 30, and it shouldn't have. That was not the intent of.
So we should really say
eligible
20
benefit part-time.
25 hours a week, averaging 25 hours a week or more,
Yeah, you can say
not,
that.
right? Because if we just say averaging 25, if you're not actually at 25,
Right,
then you're not gonna get it.
yeah,
But if you're 25 to 40,
right,
then you should get it,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
if we're gonna spell it out right, we should really spell it out.
Yeah.
That those averaging 25 hours a week or more, but less than 40.
Well, 25 hours won't get you full-time.
No,
no,
no, it's,
And
we're
that's
saying
what we're-
part-time employees averaging 25 hours a week. Or more, but less than 40, because once you get to 40,
Less than 35.
Is that what it is?
I
Yeah.
thought you just said 32.
whatever the definition of,
One
whatever,
says 32 for under Wisconsin, and the other one says
what's our handbook saying?
30 to 35. So we want to go by Wisconsin law, not just what our handbook says, right? So I would say anything under 30, 35.
I really don't care, whatever you guys wanna do, averaging 25 hours a week or more
Yeah.
throughout the year.
I think that's fine.
So that should be 25 hours a week or more. And if it gets over the definition of what a regular full-time employee, that definition will trump the part-time.
Right, then they would be full-time and they would get all the full-time.
Exactly. So those averaging 25 hours a week or more
Yeah.
is what that should read.
Yeah.
In both sections,
On
on page
just,
13 and page 12.
no, so 13 is
Is the current.
what
one.
the current handbook says. Page 12 is what
The-
it used to
the old
say.
one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I understand now.
Yeah.
So I'll make a motion to amend recommend amending the employee benefits, page 13. Language to reflect that regular part-time employees. Definition would be those averaging 25 hours per week or more throughout the year.
I will second that motion.
All right, I guess I'm a little confused here. So the part-time is from like 25 to 32 hours, anything over that is considered full-time.
Yep.
So when we say 25 hours and more,
Because right now, the language says averaging less than 30 hours. So if a guy working 2 hours is less than 30 hours, he should be eligible for benefits. That's what Andrea's argument is. So we need to define the benefits structure of a part-time employee as those of averaging 25 hours of work or more throughout the year. If they get to 40, then they get full-time 40-hour benefits. But right now, the part-time benefits, the way it reads right now, anybody averaging 1 hour a week will be eligible for part-time benefits. And that's not the intent of the handbook, right?
Correct.
I definitely understand what you're saying, but correct me if I'm wrong. So somebody, if a part-time employee happens to get up to 40, then we pay them the full benefits?
Whatever the handbook says.
If they are, their classification has changed to a full-time employee.
Just for that pay period.
No,
average.
It would have to be for the whole year. They would have to have it for the whole year and then it would be, they would become a full-time benefit employee.
Okay, so his language works for you?
Yeah.
Okay. One second, any discussion? All in favor?
I,
Aye. Discussion, possible recommendation back to the task management mobile app. And John, you had this at your last meeting, if you wanna give a brief description?
yeah, we actually made a recommendation to the board to approve the expenditures for getting the development and moving forward with an app and task management that is going to be assisted by, I believe,
One of the banks.
MSA on that one, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
So that really is, we're moving forward with that, if the board approves it. So,
It sounded pretty wonderful where it could push the village could push
push notifications on it, anything that you wanted to put out there. They basically can design it to whatever they want. You know, and so I think once we get approval of it, the development is where that conversation needs to be had. So if you wanted to bring it up, we could say, here's the list of stuff, and we could say, this is what we'd like to have for push notifications, anywhere from, 30 bathrooms to,
Like yesterday, the water main break.
Exactly,
Instead
right.
of me getting calls for it, it can go right to,
right.
I really like this idea. And then, yeah, if something breaks, people have an outlet to,
So we're in the process of it.
I like it. So we don't, well, let's make a recommendation as well. I make a motion to, approve moving forward with the task management mobile app.
Any idea what the monthly fee is for this?
It's a one-time fee.
Oh, just a cup.
Yeah, so $6,000, 5,000 to 6,000 setup. We're gonna probably be a little bit on the lower side because the 6,000 is like everything from soup to nuts. And it's more like the Cadillac version of it versus we're gonna probably dummy it down a little bit on some of the stuff.
Okay.
Right,
Here a second?
Yeah, I'll second that.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
I,
Aye. Carries. Discussion review, impact fee amount and allocation.
put this, asked to have this put on the agenda, Mr. Chairman, because I wanted to kind of look at this. And you were saying it's a facilities needs,
That's it.
I have it up on the. Yes. Needs
And-
assessment,
and this was done almost 10 years ago,
2010, yeah,
12 years ago.
Yeah.
13 years ago,
13.
wow.
June 1, 2010, yep,
Would
so,
this be on the screen so when people watch it later, because it's not on my screen?
Share your screen, I don't know.
Finish technology, especially now,
Screen share. Boom, 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 boom.
now is it on?
No, I think you have to hit the one that's green, don't you? The share screen before, so she can't. KVKF.
There
It's
you go.
Brenda for,
Hey, and then you click share and you're good to go.
alright. There we
Beautiful, there we go.
go, okay.
Thank you.
So. Impact fees are not something that we can just say, well, we wanna add. This project. And we're gonna add $500 to each impact fee. It has to go through a big process.
Board review and all that, right?
Well, typically you hire. A company to.
Colors.
No, SEH did this one. Prior to that, it was Cedar Court. So they go through and, find out what first, what your municipality is, the makeup of it. So that's the introduction. There's like a history, what kind of facilities you have now, and then what kind of growth you're expecting.
And this was from 2010, though?
Yes. So,
13 years old.
yep, so. Obviously, they talk about the Stillwater Bridge being, upgraded, and so. It's not something that you would do every couple of years. It's
About
a
every
big
13.
undertaking. So I had, like I said last month, I have approval to get a request for a new needs assessment.
How long does it usually take for one of them to?
It depends on how involved you want it.
Well, I mean.
It's
from the
probably
last
6
one,
months by the
Yeah,
time they start the process to having an actual document.
Do we gotta go solicit for,
Yeah,
huh,
bids, yeah.
to get, facilities?
Do we
Yeah.
know, Andrea, how we compare with, you know, Richmond, Hudson?
That's significantly higher. We are very low. But that also is because, there was a time where the board shot for the moon and added all kinds of, projects, and we were sued over it. So we had to reduce it. So now this is bare bones. We're covering these certain projects in each of those functions. So,
So it's gonna take about 6 months for us to get this done.
it could be less,
Okay.
depending on how, or how.
Well, we can write that into our request, right? Or, I mean, if we're asking for bids, we say we'd like to have this done in 3 months or whatever. I mean, for facility needs survey.
And a lot of the stuff is, you know, a lot of the projects that are in here are either expected to happen in the 5-year plan, or, for instance, the library facility has been expanded. So it would just be a matter of looking at the next 5-year or 10-year building.
We could probably say January 1 if we could get something done by.
Mhm.
I'd hope we get it done before then.
Nobody's doing a whole lot of building in the
Right.
winter.
I'd hope we get it done before
It's actually surprising how many permits we get in the cold.
the
months.
fall. Yeah, that's why I said I'd like to have it. I'd like this. You know,
So can I,
I'm not making I'm asking the question, you know, I mean, this, we need to look at revisiting that. So
Yeah.
what is something that makes the most sense? As far as, you know, making a request that's not outlandish to get something completed
Mhm.
within the next three to 4 months?
Right.
Is that unexpected, you know, is that unthinkable request or?
I don't believe so.
I'd like to make a motion to put out for bid the impact amount fees and allocation.
You got a time frame on getting those bids back? Cause just putting out for bid is one thing, but getting the bids back, that's what I'm saying, we get the bids back next month. Then we can hire somebody.
Well, I can put in whatever date you want as far as when to get the bids back. But
That's what I'm talking out loud here. I don't wanna put unreasonable expectations on this either.
Mhm.
And that's why, you know, if we get bids back within a month, is that a fair thing? And if we can put it on next month's agenda to hopefully hire somebody and get the process rolling.
Well, we probably need it for 3 weeks then, so we have time to get it.
Mhm.
I think Andrea puts sort of the agenda out 5 days in advance. So by,
If she gets it out this week, we'll have it for 4,
And July,
because we're a week, we're a week before the board meeting.
Oh, you're saying just go to the full board? meeting?
Yeah. I
Not,
mean,
not
why-
coming back. Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
I got you.
I wouldn't bring it back here. I said,
18th is the board meeting, so July 13th.
right,
That works.
with the company that's just to hire the company.
Yeah.
That's not to get the,
Yep, yep, I like that. Yeah, thank you for that clarification. Is there a second?
yeah, I'll second it.
Any discussion?
That's a recommendation, right, that we're gonna go forward with this, right?
Right.
Well, and I already.
All in favor?
I,
Motion carries, all right. Discussion possible recommendation, letter of credit reduction for Overend Homes for the Whispering Pines North.
Yeah.
Third division.
So. Developers have to establish a letter of credit with the village, just so that we have some sort of security that the development gets finished. Overing has finished everything except for they hadn't reimbursed us for the engineering fees. They finally did, so now they would like their letter of credit reduced to 0. It's currently at 72,000.
and they're paid in full with everything?
They're paid in full, and the project is complete, all the checklist items have been,
Make a motion to approve the letter of credit reduction for Overend Homes.
I just have one question. So they have only one more building permit out, what I'm seeing.
so this is for when they,
This is a
when they
development.
did the development, not
Not
for
for-
building out each lot, just,
Okay.
clearing the land,
They've
putting in the infrastructure.
They've satisfied their terms according to the village's requirements.
Yeah.
I second the motion. Any discussion? All in favor?
I,
Aye. Carries. Discussion, conducting business on village property.
now that recommendation has to go to the village board, right? Is that what, okay?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
We're good. Discussion, conducting business on village property.
This, Donnie, I believe you asked for this to be on for the wheelhouse.
Yes, thank you. Well, we just had talked about that, on, the,
Debt sellers.
yes, and so is there any ordinance on the books at all about, doing work on, village or, conducting business on village property? Or can anybody just come in and start doing business on,
I don't
sidewalk.
believe so.
there's no
That's
ordinance?
kind of a unique case because it wasn't village property. and
Yeah,
now it
forget
is.
about them guys. I'm
Yeah.
talking about just somebody that comes down and says, I'm gonna open up or I got a license from St. Croix for doing food,
Mhm,
right? And I'm gonna pull up on the side of the road over here and start selling food.
mhm.
It could be anything. I mean, I'm just using it as an example.
Yeah,
Is if they, is there, you would mention they have to get a permit, but
mhm,
that's only a seller's permit, right?
right.
And that's in the ordinance, right?
That is, the state statute, I believe. It's also in our ordinance book,
Okay.
but I believe it's also state statute. I would not, I would assume there is an ordinance that you can't just set up your selling, trinkets at Village Park stand without,
I stayed out of this with the wheelhouse, because of owning Kennedy's Cafe. Even though I don't think we're competing businesses, and I love those guys and their business. But do we have some kind of a lease agreement worked out with them? I know they got us their insurance binder where the village was the named insured. I know they said that.
So originally we started the conversation and, the bridge closed and, with them and not necessarily with them. I don't want this to be, a wheelhouse coffee thing because I think we all agree, we like them in the area where they're at and everything. But it has to do with more of the broader picture that is there the capability of somebody down at Village Park during pea soup days selling trinkets or whatever the case may be, you know? Now, the law says that if they're doing it for nonprofit, they're excluded from that regulation. I don't know if the ordinance covers that or not, within but I'm more trying to understand that we don't have a whole bunch of people, just coming into town without, if there is something on the books or if there isn't something on the books. I think having, multiple locations in town where they can do work or, exercise their rights of business is great. Provided we have an avenue for them. Oh, hey, you come down to the village hall and say, hey, we'd like to get a permit. We'd like to, use this space. Most places have that in every city. They have that opportunity where you get a permit and you basically are leasing a space for a period of time. So you can sell whatever you want to sell or do whatever you to do. We can ensure that food trucks are, managed accordingly. And it's more of a proactive and progressive thing to be aware of, that you have individuals in your town doing this kind of work. You know what I mean? They're not local, they're not permanent businesses. They're here today and gone tomorrow, right? So somebody comes in and sells something, and then all of a sudden, half of our people get sick and we have no way of being able to go back to them, is where I'm, trying to go with this, is that, having them register or having somebody register with our village hall saying, hey, we're gonna do some work in in your town, or we're gonna sell something in your town, whether it's on public or private, really needs to be discussed as far as, having that done. I would like to recommend that we, have, maybe some different ordinances brought up by maybe Paul, to the board for consideration, to look at something on that regard, that regards, and have that discussion about if somebody's gonna be doing, conducting business on village premises, they either have to have an agreement that's been approved by the village board or something that, conforms with an ordinance, whether that be, just even getting a permit to having their name and their insurance information on record.
I think we kind of already have it under the transient merchants.
But that's public, right?
No, well,
That's public grounds.
that's just selling, you could sell goods door to door or in one certain area,
On public property.
public or private property. It gives the
So, wait a minute,
organization-
so if you gotta have you gotta have a permit in order to sell on private property?
To be able to go door to door. Or like we used.
Where does it say that?
I don't believe. like,
At
for
any
example,
place in the
at
state temporarily does not intend to become or does not become a permanent merchant of such place.
Where are you?
A 742A, very top.
Okay. So according to this,
Sale of merchandise includes donation of carbon salary retention merchandise donor. It doesn't say, public
public or
property.
private, yeah. So, well, people better come apply for some transient merchant.
Pardon?
A lot of people better come apply for some transient merchant licenses. Such as all the people at the concert grounds, anybody that's gonna be at Market Fest.
I think It doesn't say the charitable organizations have exemptions.
Yeah, but all those food trucks are charitable organizations?
Well, it all goes through a nonprofit.
No, it wouldn't work like that.
No,
It said if the money goes directly to a 501c3, then it would be, then it would be considered charitable, or like the Boy Scouts. For instance, the
Okay.
Boy Scouts were selling pea soup, right?
here's the caveat, village authorized events. This chapter does not apply to transient merchants while doing business at special events authorized by the village board.
Okay,
That's why Pea Soup Day.
And the amphitheater,
so because the amphitheater gets a conditional use permit, then they're considered a village authorized event?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I know there was a big one.
I'm concerned that, you know, even with those events in town, you know, if, that you don't get somebody parking down here
Right,
and, you know, even, it's a village authorized event. Well, does that mean that anybody can park on, well, that's
it
what it
would have to
says.
be part of the event.
Well, that,
I know, it used to happen,
so I just want to make sure that,
they were shut down.
okay,
It used to happen during concerts that people would set up
start selling
T-shirts in
beads,
there,
so yeah,
in their trunk,
Right.
you know? Or out of their trunk, and those people would be shut down.
okay.
So,
With like a $800 fine and be taken to jail.
So really conducting business on village property, it's already protected by the transient
yeah.
event, right?
Correct.
And so then individuals just can't come in and start selling willy-nilly on the street unless they, one, get a permit, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, well, $13 permit and then they get a background check and.
So is this something to discuss going forward, if we have, you know, lots down here? Were we just saying you can come down and get a $13 permit and do business in town, or is it something where we need to define, you know, what the rules are of the village and what the rules are of the transient merchant? In other words, this is a space you can do work in, or, you know, exercise you in, or, you know, are you gonna have power generators, this kind of stuff? You just, all of that stuff can come into play with food trucks and everything else.
Yeah,
Outside of village sanctioned events is what I'm saying.
right.
Is that tomorrow you could have somebody come into town and start
I
selling?
think unless they have approval to sell on village property, I don't think they could just come set up, even if they get a transient merchant permit.
Well, we don't have that in our ordinance, though, right? So maybe we should have that in our ordinance, that they have approval from the board in order to conduct business on village property.
I don't even know that we need it, because if they don't have village board approval already to sell on village property.
I'd like to get that clarification from our attorney on that. And if he says the same thing on that, I'm
How
okay.
about this? I'll send the ordinance over to Paul tomorrow and ask if it covers the village from somebody just parking up in the industrial park on the village lot and selling
Right,
or conducting business.
right.
Or if there needs to be something else.
And maybe take a look at the transient merchant license that they fill out and see what that says too. It might even say just,
It has a location on it, but
Does it have a location?
you have to say where you're going to be. So.
But if they say where they're gonna be, And there's nothing prohibiting them from that. I mean, it's pretty much, okay, thank you for the money, here you go.
Besides
And
common
off they
sense.
go, and they can go to any place without restriction. You know, there's no, there's
The
no,
residents of the village are pretty good about calling.
well, I understand that, but if they have
and
a permit,
Questioning stuff.
if they have a permit,
Mhm.
they can go anywhere. There's no checks and balances to, okay, you have to be at this location, right?
Mhm.
There's nobody that can say that, right? Or can you guys say, no, we don't want you over here, we want you over here?
No, it's not, I guess it's never been a problem.
Yeah,
Where we don't like a location of where somebody's going to be, and typically it's. We're in town for 7 days or 5 days, and
But ultimately, we could have a situation, and this is where I say, like Wheelhouse, where we have a good location downtown and somebody wants to come down for the whole summer and sell beads to the tubers as they get off the river, or whatever. I'm just using that as an example,
Yeah.
right? They get a $13 or $33 or permit, and they go down there and they're doing business right on the village property because we own that lot, or at Village Park and doing that, saying, here you guys go. I think we really need to have some kind of a gatekeeper on that. That's what I'm saying is, there should have something agreed upon and or approved by if it's gonna be over a period of time. Maybe if it's gonna be more than a week or more than 3 days, something on that lines where we at least have, it's either gone through the appropriate planning commission or anything, no different than what we do for, tubing industries or whatever, is we give it the proper vetting and say, okay, yeah, you can be here if you're gonna be here for a period of time. Even though it's, like you said, only 4 or 5 days or whatever, they get an opportunity, because I'd hate to see them just come in and something happen, and now the village, if they don't provide insurance to, doing work on there, somebody gets hurt because they're acting up or whatever, then the village is liable,
so maybe in that same email, we can get clarification on how to handle the Wheelhouse being there.
Well, like, Wheelhouse, talking with Paul, and all it is really, it comes down to is, getting it kind of incorporated of an understanding of who's gonna maintain what, where it's gonna be at and everything, and putting it in writing, and then you present it to the board. And the board approves it or disapproves it, has a discussion, no different than, but it's kind of gone beyond that, is okay, well, if this could potentially happen in other areas, and we have nothing there to say that. So we could go talk to Wheelhouse and they'd be like, yeah, here's what we'd like to do. You guys take care of this, or we'll plow it, blah, blah, blah. But what about the next guy?
Right.
And
And two separate issues.
Right.
It probably stems from,
you want to have a method to having individuals come into town, and we want to promote that. We want to be able to promote people coming into town and doing business other than Market Fest, right? And if they do come into town to do business, so we have an avenue saying, go down to Village Hall, here's the avenue, this is the stuff you need to fill out, and we'll, vet it through the proper channels, right?
So are you proposing allowing people to lease out chunks of property for this purpose?
Well, I think that's not up to me to propose it. I'm saying that we have Wheelhouse here. I would say the board would have to have that discussion
Right.
as a whole, not just,
So did we assume or did they assume a lease from us, or how did that work?
So right now, the original discussion was, hey, we'd like to talk to you about, your business dealings right here, because now the village owns that property. And we made sure that they have insurance that, indemnifies the village from any kind of, issues with that. But then the bridge closed and they didn't know if they were even gonna be there. They might have to relocate to another area. So we kind of tabled that whole discussion based on, well, okay, let's see what happens with the bridge being closed and, so we didn't really push the envelope. But going through the summer and getting into fall and stuff, if they're going to remain there, then yeah, something needs to be put into place, no different than any other, person or vendor, I would say. And that's why having the conversation now is probably, you know, worthy. And like I said, it's nothing against that,
Oh, no.
that person.
Yeah,
It's
great.
about what the village is prepared to deal with for other individuals. We got concerts coming into town. You know, I don't want to see a whole bunch of people popping up down here, you
It's
know,
good to have some framework. If
right?
it comes up, then sure.
He'll take care of that then, Andrew, send it off the phone, and then just, whether he comes back with just CC us,
Yep.
CC the board on.
Yep.
Thank you. Discussion, possible recommendation, closing Village Hall on Monday, July 3rd.
Because there's only two of us, in the.
I make a motion to close Village Hall on Monday,
Second.
July 3rd.
Thank you.
I'll second that motion.
Discussion,
There don't need to be any discussion on that.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Future agenda items.
Well, you're gonna be closed the 3rd and the 4th, just
Yes.
for verification, right?
Yeah,
Put notice out.
And thank you guys for picking up all the slack, and you guys are doing a great job, so thank you.
thank you.
Future agenda items, this is just for discussion of what we might wanna have on the village board
For next month.
for next month.
It's
The only thing I
not
would say,
necessarily like something that's been tabled to next month, but, if there's,
I would like to, you know, revisit our fee schedule. When was the last time that was ever done?
I would have to look at the. fee
Long time.
schedule to- Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah.
So,
I think it's always good to kind of look back at our stuff and see if we're in the times with inflation and stuff kicking in. If we're the low, you know, person on a totem pole, everybody kind of comes up together, and if we're shorting our taxpayers in this town an opportunity to generate a little extra revenue, we should at least be looking at that.
yeah.
Andrew, how difficult is it for you to get comparisons from some of the other towns around here?
It's probably just an email.
And see what you can do for, maybe, you know, Osceola and Richmond and Hudson.
I'll get 3 or 4 that you-
And then maybe Roberts. A few of them, kind of see where we fall in with those guys. Perfect.
That's one thing, that's the only thing I really see, it maybe at some point in time, maybe, do we do anything for training for the trustees newly elected or anything as far as, I know you had sent out some deals about, you know, the
Yeah,
municipalities,
so these guys attended a really nice one, I
Yes.
believe.
7-hour online training.
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, did you get a flash drive with the training?
Yes. as
So
well.
would you be willing to share it with other trustees? I know Brandon was
So
interested.
yeah, if I can.
I can, have it, I can probably put it on my, Dropbox
Okay,
and send out a link.
Good, right, I've always known,
And if I have enough of them on my Dropbox.
you have multiple municipalities around.
mhm,
And, you know, if you're. When I first originally got involved with another organization, they sent you to this, you know, it was like a get together, and that's what the League of Municipalities has. They kind of have these get togethers where they have speakers and they talk about stuff. And you get to listen to them and hear other people's, and you don't get that with, I'm sorry, you don't get that with a flash drive. You don't get that opportunity to go, oh, that's a great idea. I'd like to bring that back to our.
and, so there are several training or, not necessarily trainings, just
Working
like
sessions.
annual conferences where you get that, networking.
Right.
Um,
Now, do you guys ever go to anything like that?
we used to, and then, you know, COVID. So
Sure, but then
everything
COVID,
kind of stopped.
Yep.
So,
do you guys budget for that?
yeah,
And do you budget for any of the trustees to go to stuff like that, or like committee heads or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
Cause it'd be nice to.
I know the league has one every year, an annual conference that Probably would be beneficial for some.
And it was a one-way conversation. We couldn't like chat back, but it was still really informative.
Yeah, getting that end of it is good, you know, because that
Yeah.
kind of establishes the base, but the ahas are the ones where you're like, you know what, here's our problem. And you can actually say, here's our, and we resolved it by doing this. And it's like, oh, that's a great idea. I'll take that back and we'll consider it or whatever,
It was broken up into mods and at the end of each mod, you had a chance to ask questions
Did you?
too, so that was nice, yeah, if you were quick.
Sure, but you don't get that on a flash drive, right?
Right.
So
And I
good
think
to
the
see.
next time they're hosting that same webinar is in October.
It'd be nice if we
But it was
could,
a live event too.
Yeah.
They were offering that.
yeah,
We
it'd
just-
be nice if we could send send the trustees, I think, and staff, especially new staff,
They offered to go to the live one. I just, so much easier to do by computer. We can still have a life and get your work done well,
right?
learning.
I know I was just at an event, last week, Thursday and Friday. And it was down in Milwaukee. And I was able to talk to individuals within an industry that I don't get a chance to talk to, and I learned a lot of things, that go in, and that, it happens, once a quarter, but it's a good thing to be able to network with those other individuals.
Sure.
And then you also find people that you might want to call if you have a question, like, hey, I know George over in Hammond, I want to call him and get his fee structure, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
okay.
Is that, do they do that on an annual basis? Is it something that we have to get approved, or is there a policy on that, or how's that? For attending one of those municipality
You
conferences?
don't have to get approval.
So any one of the trustees could go?
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
I make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that motion.
Discussion? Roll call.
None needed. Aye.
Aye. Opposed? We are adjourned at
I was
8:43.
gonna say, I have 41.
That was
42.
basically.
Split the difference. How about that?